tired of the city's dust and smoke, noisy street and cramped housing space, an idle dreamer in search of a new background. Johnny longs for the freedom of space, the scented smell of freshly cut lucerne, the feel of a plough beneath his hands, and the loamy dampness of soil falling through his fingers. In those few moments I felt that I knew Johnny, perhaps even better than Johnny knew himself. It was as if a mirror had been held to my own beginnings, my own youthful ambitions, my own urgent needs that years ago had seemed so difficult to satisfy. A born love of the soil is indisputable and inescapable. Even today, in the times of great cities and gigantic mechanized industry, there are still those for whom the soil is a magnet. And I believe Johnny was one of those few. If this lad wanted to be a farmer, even though he'd never set foot behind the plough, there was no reason about his own lack of endeavor why he shouldn't one day become a farmer. Opportunities were always available for enterprising young lads to go on the land. But for Johnny, much had to be done in the meantime. And I believed that, well, that I could help him. I invited him to come to my home. There we could discuss the ways and means which would lead to Johnny's new career. A modern, scientific agriculturalist. My mantelpiece clock told me that it needed just 5 minutes to 8 o'clock. As Johnny was not expected until 8, and the fire was most inviting, I settled myself down in a comfortable chair and began to read. And here is Johnny arriving 5 minutes before time. He certainly must be interested. Well, we talked and I became the secret sharer of his dreams. I told him of my early life on the land, and if he cared to follow the possibilities that were open to him, there was a definite future in farming. Furthermore, if he farmed correctly and learned to care for the soil, the future was a prosperous one. My first surprise was when I learned that Johnny had never seen the rolling countryside, the blue network of rivers, the green farmlands, and the lazy little country towns that together make up the Hunter Valley. And so it was here that I decided to begin Johnny's re-education. This is my private projection booth, furnished with the simple needs of a projector and a few hundred feet of film I'd collected during my years of living in the Hunter Valley. These are the rich farming flats of Bulwarra, the grassy slopes, the patchwork pattern of lucerne fodder, and the tree-lined creeks running quietly through fertile banks. A bird's-eye view giving us the geography. After the tree has been felled, the logs are drawn by tractor, loaded onto a jinker, then measured and finally cut into required lengths by a motor-driven cross-cut saw. Processing masonite, a modern building material now in great demand. the soil will gain new life, and man will find, yes, Johnny, there are problems to be overcome, and many lessons to be learned. But for you and others like you, there is a future which can be faced with confidence. It's a steep climb, but on the other side lies security. The community, the district, and the nation, by a more complete realization and application of the assistance which the members may be able to render to each other. General opinion of visiting overseas agriculturists is that some Australian farmers lag in practical application of the results of research. Some are still inclined to view science with suspicion. A similar situation arose in Tennessee Valley, USA, and special schools were set up with qualified instructors to teach the man on the land the logic of science. Today, a farmer, if he is to be a good one, has to know more about more things than any man in any other profession. He has to be a biologist, a veterinarian, a mechanic, and numerous other things, apart from being eager to absorb new knowledge, new ideas, and new ideals. But there are two things above education that he must possess: a feeling for the soil and a sympathy and understanding for his animals. These two things are not developed in the farmer. They are born. Good pastures depend on the controlled application of irrigation sprays. At present, irrigation on the Hunter is insufficient, but plans are well in hand for the conservation of water on a large scale, sufficient to irrigate the entire Hunter Valley. With the afternoon milking completed, after stall feeding, the dairy herd is moved into the night paddock. The sun is already beginning to fade as the farmer's wife takes care of the poultry, which are kept purely to meet their own domestic needs. Though poultry farming on a commercial basis is firmly established in many sections of the Hunter, usually this is where the soil is poor and of little use for agriculture. And so the long day for the farmer draws to a close. He will sleep well, for he knows that his animals are well fed and watered, and settled down comfortably for the night. And so ends Johnny's first day on the farm, in which he was really close enough to the soil to know that he and it are